Hello. Okay, well, I was going to do 3 separate videos on the cowboy boot topic, but I was going through and kind of seeing which ones still fit and was surprised to find that I've outgrown most of them that I own, and a fair number of these are not necessarily discontinued models, but from what I saw online, a lot of them have been picked through and look like they're pretty much on their way out in terms of what sizes are still available and such. So it would be kind of silly to do a bunch of long form videos about boots that you just can't get, but these brands all still exist. So at least I can talk about the brand a little bit. So I'll be comparing the Dingo, the Laredo, sorry, and Ariat. Um, in no particular real well, you can kind of rank them yourself pretty easily, judging from this. Now, all of these are boots that are not technically premium boots. They were all pretty inexpensive, at the time, in the $150 range, I think. They're still kind of in that range. So the first, just to jump right in. Well, before I just jump right into before the first, initially I was just buying cowboy boots because I just wanted some cowboy boots, and so that was when I got the Ariat. And so I'm not doing this in entirely chronological order, but the sole is more of a walking sole. This was called the trucker boot or something at the time, and then later I found that for other activities. Typically, like if you're riding horses, you'll want a leather heel, or if you're dancing at a club with a wooden floor, you'll need a leather heel, that kind of thing, or sole, I should say. This heel being rubber, the sole being leather. Um, this one has, so this one I had to get basically because this wouldn't work for that. This is, better for streetwear, or if you're shoveling out stables, it's fine. Talk about that more in a second. The main difference between this one and that one in main terms is this has a man-made upper and leather lower, and this has the reverse. So the lower looks like leather, but it's actually not, and the upper here is actually leather, or should be. And so this one was a much more pointy toe and less comfortable model, but it also had a little bit more up front than the other ones. So when I first bought them, these were actually kind of too big, and now these are the ones I can still kind of squeeze into if I want to be really uncomfortable. This one I could kind of squeeze into it if I promise not to wear a sock that isn't a dress sock or something. So opposite of all the work boots and logger boots and things I've been talking about that all run big, these technically all run probably a half size small. This one is supposed to be, what does it say on the box? 6.5, and it can fit up to a 7-ish. If you, like I said, if you don't mind your toe being squished because you've got a real narrow, so it can vary a little bit from brand to brand. Whereas when I first bought these, I was worried they were going to be too big because they were a 7. And when I put them on, they went flop. And the boot barn guy said, "Oh, that's the sound I love to hear. It sounds like you found yourself the perfect boot." And again, now I can, there's no flop sound. It's more like, can't get it on, can't get it off. So, these ones, on the other hand, I had a fun time. I think it was these, trying to get them off, at 3 a.m. after your feet are all swollen and everything, and kicking the floor. If you don't have one of those wooden kickstand deals where you can, you back your boot into it and give it a pull, you're on your own. So yeah, you've got man-made little pull ties here to help you get it on instead of in the in the back, like a work boot. They're on the sides, which works a little bit easier because you can kind of stand and pull your boot. Little, I'm not. Cowboy boots have been around for a while, so if you don't know what they are, you're probably in for it. Anyway, these ones came with kind of a cheap fake leather, I think. It might be real, but thin leather concho, and you slip it on. Yeah, you slip it on down the shaft and put the chain under the heel, and it just clips with the work. What's usually pretty terrible clips when I'm using them in other applications, but since I never ever wore this on the boot, I couldn't tell you how well they perform. So yeah, these were probably $150 at the time, and they lasted pretty well for what they are. The fake leather isn't all like terribly cracked or anything. You can see it's rumpled, and you can see I never used a shoe tree, and it didn't break too bad. A bit of scuffing, nothing to, probably a little bit of polish couldn't fix. A little wear on the heels, mostly from asphalt and that kind of thing, but not terribly ground down. A little bit of, if you can kind of see a little bit of ground, but not to the point where they needed a resole, certainly. But when I was wearing those, like I said, pretty uncomfortable. Just in terms of getting used to that really pointy toe, that real kind of, I don't know who wears this boot, Bon Jovi or whatever back in the 80s. I don't know who, the toe rans and kind of thing, not necessarily really my style to be kind of that flamboyant, but that was kind of what was available in my price range. So that was what led me to the Dingo one, which also had the toe rand and had an even nicer concho with a little bit thicker material, same exact kind of chain, um, but a lot more detailing. And this boot probably cost $50 more or something, and I never actually ended up wearing them because these ones got really small on me really fast. My foot is nowhere near this narrow and petite. I don't think it ever was. I think when I first bought them, I was like, oh yeah, these will work, and then like I just never bothered. And so here they still sit many years later, completely forgotten that I had them at the time. And these same size, 6.5, but run even smaller than those. And but this one has this kind of crushed pig leather, so it's the whole appeal to this one was that it was all leather and it has a heel rand, which is pretty rare. There's none on the other one. And so at the time I thought, oh, they're all leather. That'll be even nicer, But then it's even more squishy than the other one. So when you put it on, it kind of does this kind of lazy. Again, I don't know, more of a Bon Jovi look than the look I was kind of going for. And so I didn't really like that. I wanted the tall shaft. Not this kind of floppy thing. So yeah, I never ended up buying them, but in a little bit, very not structured in here. Again, one of my pet peeves from if you watch the Carolina video, you'll know how much I hate a boot that does not support. Whereas this is support for days, and this toe cap goes all the way to like here. So this boot was not falling apart anytime soon, and I wasn't sliding around in it, or whatever. So that was kind of my my whatever unfortunate purchase. So I don't really have that much to say about either of these brands. They are what they are. Did I show the sole of this? I guess I kind of did. It's the exact same kind of thing, leather and rubber, but except here the rubber hasn't been used, so that's it. And so if those are up your alley, you can like I said, probably find similar versions, if not those anymore in your size. So bringing us back to part 2 of the video, the other brand. Now here a boot, again, some wear, but not very terribly visible, although I didn't I didn't wear these ones as much. I kind of started wearing them, like I said, and then kind of converted to those. But I still wore these for street use a little bit. And like I said, when I first put them on, they fit perfect. You know, they fit fine. Again, these are a size 7, whereas those are 6.5, and they fit about the same. So this brand runs a little bit. Does that mean bigger or smaller? I don't know. Figure it out. So if I was buying these now, I guess I would need a 7.5, and if I was buying these now, I would need an 8, maybe. I think. Not that I would probably buy those again. Whereas these, I would probably buy these again, just again for street use. If I'm just using them as, like I said, the name. I don't think they call them trucker boots anymore on the website or anything, but they have I guarantee you they have an almost exact boot that's the same exact thing as this for about the same price. They're probably like $200 now instead of 150 or whatever they were at the time. And so the reason I, stopped wearing those as much, you can see these got use, is because I got the brown ones, which go with more of my clothes. Exact same thing, a little bit nicer stitching at the top, or more pronounced. It's got kind of this, if you can really see it, kind of a southwesty fade feel to it, whether that's intentional or not. The leather looks distressed, which, pre-distressed leather is not always my bag either, but in a rustic looking cowboy boot, I guess they thought that was important. And I'd never used these for slopping out the stables or anything. And there's not really much use on the soles, but so the soles hold up pretty well for the kind of whatever street walking or casual walking, I should say, that I would have done at the time. And I never used a boot tree or anything. But again, this isn't real leather, so that I know of. So although it says they're not real leather, but they scuff and everything like real leather. But I assumed if they're not real leather, that a shoe tree wouldn't do anything anyway, because the fake leather isn't going to respond the same way as real leather. It doesn't, it's not going to regain or hold any of its kind of shape over time the same way leather is supposed to, that it would require reinforcing. So, you might want to look into that, and not mistreat them, going forward. But when it says inside, leather upper, balance man-made, made in China. So I don't know if balance means this or balance means this. I always assumed balance meant this. So maybe I was wrong. But I don't think so, because I believe, again, that they intended, and there's kind of a mesh sock liner all throughout the interior of this, and it's not just a raw rough out like the a lot of the boots are the ones that you'd expect. And going back to these, if memory serves, yeah, there's kind of a similar fabric in these ones, whereas this is totally pleather. This totally feels pretty gross against your skin if you're wearing low socks. Whereas again here, the shaft is not collapsing. It's not this pig leather stuff. This is genuine hide. And so maybe I should have had some trees in it all along. I don't know, but not too worse for wear anyway. And so, like I said, I'm just kind of showing these as options more than recommendations. Whereas this one, upper balance. Shit, I can't even read this. This is awkward. Yeah, upper balance, man-made. So this one is not real leather up at the top. I don't know if any of this is real leather. But I always assumed at the time that at least some of it was leather. But the texture and the feel of the brown one and the black one are pretty different. Like I said, this one you have a lot more squish. So I think when I first bought this one, Yeah, this is definitely somebody pulled a fast one on me, or I remembered it wrong. I think this was like they said the earlier version, and then they switched to this version because this is not, and this is that. Yeah. But where I got confused, again, this has been many years since I bought all these boots, so I hadn't looked at them in a while. Uh, this one now, the top is leather, same brand, but the bottom is fake. You can tell it's totally fake. You can see it's totally fake. But these, and also the rubber, because they have the big square toe and the big da da da, I can actually still wear these. So hooray! I still have a pair that fit, even though they look like, I don't know, they're supposed to look like biker Joe boots or something, and they, aren't attractive in any stylish way or whatever. They're meant to look all rugged and tough and blah blah blah. And they'd probably look pretty good with something like this on them if I really felt like it. But so okay, that's me learning about my own boots again after them sitting in the closet for a while. And but yeah, I'm pretty sure you want to double check with the Ariat ones what you're getting, because then you don't look like an idiot on your own video. Or in general, though, like I said, you might prefer this kind of thing because I have a pair of leather ones out in the garage that have been used for shoveling stables, and they smell like it. These have no smell. So live and learn.